Deep beneath the frozen and unforgiving landscape of the Antarctic, buried under nearly 4 kilometers of solid ice, lies a silent world that has been sealed away from our planet for millions of years. This is Lake Vostok, a hidden reservoir of liquid water the size of Lake Ontario, locked in a dark, crushing embrace by the coldest climate on Earth. When researchers first began drilling into the ice above the lake, they were not just looking for water samples, they were looking for a portal into the deep past. As the drill bit crept closer to the surface of the subglacial abyss, the atmosphere in the isolated station grew thick with anticipation and unease. Some scientists speculated that they might encounter ancient bacteria, long-dormant life forms that had evolved in total isolation. Others whispered of more unsettling possibilities. When the team finally breached the lake, the pressure difference sent the water rushing up the borehole, instantly freezing upon contact with the frigid air. Since that moment, the findings have been shrouded in a strange, muffled ambiguity. There are reports of anomalous magnetic readings emanating from the depths, and claims of strange biological markers that do not match anything in our known record of evolution. What really exists in that pitch-black, pressurized void? Is it merely ancient silt and silent microbes? Or does the lake harbor secrets that were never meant to be disturbed by human curiosity? We look at the ice and see a barrier, but perhaps it is a lid, keeping something buried that defies every rule of biology we hold sacred. The darkness of Vostok remains, a cold, liquid mystery that refuses to be fully understood by our science. Could a landscape be so hostile, so utterly devoid of life, that it begins to behave as if the laws of physics themselves have turned against us? Imagine standing in the heart of the Antarctic desert, a place where the wind howls with the voice of 1,000 ghosts, and the horizon stretches into a terrifying, featureless void of white. Explorers who have ventured deep into the interior have whispered of a phenomenon that defies explanation, a place where time seems to fold in on itself like a dying star. It is not just the biting cold that drives men to the edge of sanity here, but the unsettling reports of atmospheric anomalies, mirages that are not mere light tricks, but manifestations of something far more ancient and deeply buried beneath the ice. Some travelers describe sudden, inexplicable shifts in the sensory experience, where the rhythmic crunch of boots on frozen crust abruptly ceases to resonate, replaced by a vacuum of sound so profound it feels as though the world has frozen in mid-breath. There are accounts from historical expeditions suggesting that certain regions of the Antarctic plateau possess a strange magnetic distortion, capable of warping compass needles until they spin in frantic, meaningless circles. Scientists have long debated whether these events are products of extreme environmental stress or something entirely outside our current understanding of reality. When you are surrounded by nothing but the relentless, silent expanse of the ice, you begin to realize that the most terrifying mysteries are not those we seek, but those that choose to reveal themselves in the lonely, desolate silence of the pole. What is it that lies trapped beneath the miles of frozen silence, waiting for the ice to finally surrender its secrets? We may never know, but for those who have felt the pulse of the void, the answer remains a haunting, lingering chill in the back of the mind, refusing to be dismissed. What if a vast, liquid graveyard has been keeping secrets beneath 3 miles of crushing Antarctic ice for millions of years? We are talking about Lake Vostok, a body of water the size of Lake Ontario, sealed away from the atmosphere since long before humanity walked this earth. For ages, it was nothing more than a ghost on a radar screen, a phantom void in the bedrock detected by satellite imagery. When scientists finally breached the surface, they expected a sterile, frozen tomb. Instead, they found something that defies every rule of biology we cling to. Imagine the silence of the deepest, darkest abyss, where pressure is absolute and sunlight is an ancient memory. As drills pierced the ice, the core samples began to reveal strange, unexplained bacterial signatures and genetic sequences that match no known organism on our planet. Some researchers cautiously suggest that we have stumbled upon an ecosystem that evolved in total isolation, completely detached from the sun's influence. Yet, the deeper they probe, the more unsettling the data becomes. There are whispers of water chemistry shifts that imply the lake is alive with forces we cannot categorize. What lies in the absolute center of that lightless expanse? Is it merely ancient life, or are we witnessing the footprint of a world that refused to go extinct when the Ice Age claimed the rest of the globe? The deeper we go, the more the ice seems to watch back. We are not just uncovering history, we are disturbing a prehistoric sentinel that was never meant to be found. The question remains, is the lake waiting for us to leave, or is it waiting for us to come closer? Deep within the frozen, unforgiving reaches of the Siberian wilderness, where the earth remains locked in a permanent, icy grip, miners once unearthed something that defied every law of archaeology. It was not a fossil of some long-extinct mammoth or a relic of a known nomadic tribe. It was an object so anomalous that it seemed to mock the very notion of human history. Buried beneath 30 feet of undisturbed permafrost, layers that had not seen the light of day for hundreds of thousands of years, lay a metallic sphere of perfect, geometric precision. Its surface, smooth as polished obsidian, was etched with intricate, swirling patterns that pulsed with a faint, rhythmic iridescence when brushed by the cold air. Geologists who examined the surrounding sediment confirmed that the soil had remained untouched since the Pleistocene epoch, long before any civilization capable of forging such metal could have possibly walked the earth. Some researchers suggest this could be a remnant of a forgotten, pre-human society that mastered advanced metallurgy in the shadows of prehistory, while others whisper of an extraterrestrial influence, a seed left behind in the primordial slush. When the object was touched, those present reported a low, vibrating hum that seemed to resonate directly within their bones, a sound that felt less like a mechanical noise and more like a warning. Today, the artifact remains an enigma, locked away in an atmosphere-controlled vault, its purpose and origin still shrouded in the silence of the ice. What kind of hands crafted this perfection, and why was it buried in the eternal frost of a world that was not yet ready for its discovery? The cold holds its secrets tight, but sometimes the ice decides to surrender the truth, leaving us with nothing but questions that chill the soul. What happens when the earth itself refuses to be measured, falling into a silence that defies every law of physics? Imagine standing at the heart of a remote, windswept plateau where the needle of a compass does not merely quiver, it surrenders. This is the story of the Kerguelen anomaly, a place where magnetic readings simply flatlined at exactly midnight, leaving researchers staring at blank screens in the suffocating dark. It began as a routine geological survey, intended to map the deep crust magnetic signatures of this desolate southern territory. The equipment was state-of-the-art, calibrated to detect the slightest fluctuation in the planet's natural field. Yet, as the clock struck 12, the sensors registered a total, impossible void. For 6 minutes, the entire region slipped into a magnetic vacuum, as if a gargantuan, invisible hand had reached down to erase the pull of the poles entirely. The data logs showed no gradual decay, no interference from solar storms, and certainly no electrical malfunction. It was as though the ground beneath the researchers' boots had suddenly detached itself from the core of the world. One local theory suggests that the bedrock contains vast, unknown mineral deposits with properties that react to the lunar cycle, creating a momentary, localized stabilization of the magnetic field. Yet, scientists remain skeptical, for no known material can produce a total vacuum without leaving a trace of energy discharge. When the readings finally flickered back to life, the needles spun wildly, as if frantic to regain their orientation. To this day, the researchers involved cannot explain the overwhelming sensation of weightlessness they felt during those 6 minutes of dead air. Why did the Earth turn off, and what was waiting in the silence that followed? Some say the land remembers, and that when the magnets fail, something deep beneath the surface begins to wake. Have you ever felt the weight of an unseen gaze pressing against your back in a place where you are supposed to be entirely alone? Deep within the frozen, subterranean depths of the Ural Mountains lies a facility, a place of silent concrete and eternal cold, where something was captured on thermal cameras that defies every law of biology we hold dear. It was not a ghost in the traditional sense, nor was it a trick of the light or a mechanical malfunction. On a night when the sensors were recording only the absolute zero of the surrounding stone, the screens suddenly pulsed with a violent, impossible heat. A silhouette, tall and spindly, emerged from the solid rock face, moving with a fluid, liquid grace that seemed to drag the very air into its wake. It had no heart to pump blood, no lungs to draw breath, yet it radiated a heat signature so intense that the equipment began to register structural warning signals. What remains most chilling is not just its appearance, but the way it lingered before the lens. It seemed to acknowledge the camera, turning a featureless, elongated head toward the glass with a slow, deliberate precision that suggests a terrifying level of awareness. Some researchers argue it was merely a localized pocket of geothermal gas, a fleeting geological anomaly mimicking the shape of a man. Yet, others who have studied the tapes for years note the way the entity pressed a hand against the wall, leaving behind a handprint of charred stone that remains there to this day. What were we looking at in that freezing dark? And why did the sensors go cold the exact moment it chose to look back? What if deep beneath the shifting sands of the Cappadocia region lies a secret that defies the very laws of human migration? For centuries, travelers have walked across the barren, wind-swept plains of Turkey, never suspecting that beneath their feet exists an intricate, multi-layered labyrinth of stone. We are not talking about mere caves or simple shelters, but the ancient city of Derinkuyu, a sprawling underground metropolis plunging 18 stories into the earth, capable of housing 20,000 people. The most chilling question remains: why would an entire civilization choose to abandon the sun, the stars, and the sky to dwell in perpetual, suffocating darkness? Archaeologists have confirmed that this subterranean city is equipped with elaborate ventilation shafts, massive stone rolling doors that lock from the inside, and even deep wells that provided fresh water. Some believe this was a desperate refuge from ancient warfare, yet the sheer scale and architectural sophistication suggest a society that was not merely hiding, but living, working, and thriving in the cold silence of the rock. The walls bear no signs of long-term torch smoke, implying that these people moved through total blackness with an ease that feels almost predatory. Could they have been running from something from above, or were they hiding something profound? As you walk through these narrow, claustrophobic corridors, the air grows heavy, and you cannot help but feel the weight of 1,000 eyes watching from the shadows of history. They mastered the deep earth, but to what end? The darkness here does not just hide the past. It keeps it trapped, waiting for us to ask the one question they never dared to answer. What were they truly afraid of meeting under the light of day? Could a sound from the deep void possess a structure so precise that it refuses to be dismissed as mere cosmic noise? Imagine a quiet night in the summer of 1977, when the Big Ear radio telescope in Ohio suddenly flared to life. It caught a signal that lasted precisely 72 seconds, a rhythmic, powerful burst of energy emanating from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. When Jerry Amon saw the printout, he circled the sequence of letters and numbers in red ink and simply wrote the word "wow." This was not a random pulse of a dying star or the erratic flicker of a pulsar. It was a narrow band frequency that hit the target with the intensity of a beacon. According to the laws of physics, this signal should have possessed the characteristics of natural phenomena, yet it lacked the chaotic drift typical of space, behaving instead like a directed, intentional transmission. Astronomers searched the skies for decades, waiting for the echo to return, but the source remained silent, buried in the vast, indifferent dark. Some believe it was a stray reflection from a passing comet, while others whisper that we caught a fleeting glimpse of something, or someone, communicating across the impossible distances of the universe. What if that signal was never meant for us, but was a stray beam slicing through the fabric of the galaxy, a lingering remnant of a civilization that may have ceased to exist long before our ancestors looked up at the stars? The silence that followed is perhaps more haunting than the signal itself, leaving us to wonder if we are truly alone, or if the universe is simply whispering in a language we have yet to translate. Hidden beneath the thick ice of the Arctic, there exists a forgotten landscape of anomalies that forces us to question our own reality. One of the most bizarre occurrences involves the strange, rhythmic tremors felt in the middle of the North Pole region, where the ground is supposed to be geologically inactive. These are not earthquakes caused by shifting plates. They are precise, pulsating vibrations that occur exactly every 3 hours. Early explorers who stayed in small outposts described them as the beating of a colossal, buried heart. When researchers attempted to place seismic monitors directly above the epicenter, the equipment suffered from constant, inexplicable power surges that rendered the memory banks useless. Was this some form of tectonic venting, or does the Earth at the very top of the world contain a mechanism that has been running since the dawn of time? We think of the North as a barren wasteland, but perhaps we are standing on the roof of an forgotten machine that is waiting for the right moment to reset. Travel to the remote corners of the Amazon, where the rainforest creates a canopy so dense that the sun rarely touches the ground. Deep in the heart of this green maze, travelers often report the discovery of monolithic stones, perfectly aligned with the stars, yet belonging to no known human culture of the region. These stones are not merely scattered. They form a complex, geometric grid that covers hundreds of miles. Local tribes speak in hushed tones about the Star Walkers, beings who brought the stones from the heavens to mark a map that only they can read. Archaeologists have struggled to find tool marks or quarrying sites, leading some to theorize that these structures were not built, but grown from the minerals within the earth itself. As you hack through the thick vines, the air becomes charged with a static hum that makes your hair stand on end. Is it possible that we are not the first masters of this planet, and that the Earth is littered with forgotten markers of a visitor who left us behind? Consider the mystery of the Peary Rise Map, an ancient document that depicts the coastline of Antarctica with terrifying accuracy, including features that were buried under ice for centuries. When historians first analyzed the parchment, they were baffled by the level of detail regarding terrain that was supposedly unknown to mankind until the modern age. Some suggest that the map was compiled from much older source materials, gathered by a civilization that thrived when the southern continent was still green and vibrant. The map shows mountain ranges and river systems that exist beneath the current ice sheet, confirmed only recently by modern radar technology. Who was looking down at the world from the clouds thousands of years ago, and how did they manage to chart a frozen wasteland that even we have barely managed to explore? The map is a ghost of a lost age, a silent challenge to our linear understanding of human progress. Then there is the matter of the Voynich manuscript, a book written in a language that no codebreaker has ever been able to solve. Its pages are filled with illustrations of plants that do not exist on our planet, and celestial charts that display stars in positions we cannot reconcile with our own skies. The ink has faded, yet the mystery remains as sharp as ever. Some believe it is a record of a traveler from a distant world, recording the strange flora and fauna of a place beyond the reaches of our sun. Others think it is a masterful hoax from the Middle Ages, but the complexity of the script defies that simple explanation. Why would someone spend years crafting a book that no one was meant to read? Perhaps it was not a book, but a manual, left behind for the one who finally figures out how to open the door to where it truly belongs. In the misty highlands of Scotland, there are circles of standing stones that seem to vanish in the fog, only to reappear in different configurations. Locals call them the shifting sentinels. They say if you stand in the center during a storm, the sound of the rain suddenly stops, replaced by a low, harmonic chant that feels as though it is coming from inside your own skull. Physicists have studied the area and noted that the stones act as perfect lightning rods, concentrating the ambient energy of the atmosphere. But that does not explain why the stones seem to migrate over the centuries, slowly changing their perimeter like a clock face winding down. What are they counting? And why does the air turn cold whenever the configuration shifts? In the depths of the Pacific Ocean, there are areas known as the soundless zones. Ships that pass through these regions report a sudden, total death of all electronic navigation. The water itself seems to change color, turning a deep, unnatural violet. Divers who have explored the shallower edges of these zones talk about seeing structures of glass and metal that glow with a rhythmic, pulsating light. Are these the ruins of a city that was swallowed by the waves before the first pyramids were built, or is there something else lurking in the high-pressure, deep-water currents? The ocean keeps its secrets under a layer of crushing salt, but every now and then, the surface reveals a glimpse of something that does not belong in our era. Think of the strange, repetitive light patterns recorded over the Andes Mountains. They are not meteors, and they are not aircraft. They move in sharp, angular patterns, defying the laws of gravity as they dance above the snow-capped peaks. Indigenous legends tell of spirits who patrol the high ridges, guarding the threshold between the earth and the heavens. When these lights appear, the local wildlife falls into a deep, synchronized sleep, and the air smells like ozone. Are these displays a communication from a source we cannot perceive, or is the mountain itself a beacon, calling out to the stars? Finally, we return to the silence. Whether it is the frozen plains of the poles, the dense shadows of the jungle, or the unreadable pages of an ancient book, the world is full of questions that we are not yet ready to answer. We live our lives in the comfort of what we believe to be true, ignoring the cracks in the foundation of our knowledge. But the universe does not care for our convenience. The mysteries are there, waiting in the cold, the dark, and the deep. They are the echoes of a reality that is far larger, older, and stranger than we can ever comprehend. And perhaps, one day the ice will melt, the secrets will speak, and we will finally understand that we were never really alone. The shadows are getting longer, and the questions are growing louder. Are you listening, or are you too afraid to look?